And here we go. Looks like we are live. Hello, 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 friends. Always testing with the technology. We are so excited to be here. My name is Svava Brooks, and if you're just joining us right now, this is being recorded or broadcasted from my Facebook page, and I'm excited to be here with you today with a colleague, Elizabeth Kipp. Hello, Elizabeth. You want to say a quick hello? I'm going to then go ahead and introduce you, and then I have some questions about your beautiful, powerful, inspiring book, The Way Through Chronic Pain, Tools to Reclaim Your Healing Power. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Svava. I'm thrilled and honored to be here with you and your group today.
Oh, thank you so much. And before I go into introduction, if you're here with us live, please say hello so we can welcome you and we know that you're here. And or if you're watching the replay, please post replay in the comments so then we can kind of keep track of how we did here. So I know Elizabeth is excited to talk to us about her book and also to answer any questions that you may have about chronic pain or any thoughts about anything else that comes up in our conversation here. But just to tell you a little bit about Elizabeth, we found each other because of our mutual passion about healing and supporting adults after trauma. But Elizabeth is a best-selling author, stress and chronic pain management specialist, ancestral clearing practitioner, bilateral EFT tapping practitioner, and Kundalini yoga teacher. Elizabeth overcame chronic pain and addiction caused by childhood abuse and chronic health issues by acknowledging trauma and using spiritual and scientific methods. She believes she is the proof that she can heal from chronic pain. If she can heal from chronic pain, anyone can. I'm with you on that one, Elizabeth, right? If my body can heal, all our bodies can. So today, Kipp's mission, Elizabeth's mission is to spread the word that we can heal from chronic pain. It is not a life sentence. So I'm actually reading this bio from your Amazon page. So anyone who's curious, I immediately want to tell them and encourage them to find their way to Amazon to look up your book. Right there, and you're already getting some beautiful reviews on your book, Elizabeth. So, but with that, I want to turn it over to you and start by asking, why did you write this book? What led you to writing it?
A couple of things. I'm not only recovered 40 years from chronic pain, but 6 years of continuous sobriety from opiates, benzodiazepines, and including 15 years of fentanyl on that. That was 31 years of being on those medications, 6 years now clean. And when I was, and I went to a treatment center in pain management to detox off those drugs and learn how to live, without them, and learn how to manage my pain. I had no idea at the time that my pain was going to disappear. I just thought I'd get off drugs and learn how to manage my pain better. And I walked into that treatment center with 40 years of pain, back pain, and a lifetime of gut pain. And I walked out 52 days later with no pain. So that was amazing. But while I was there, I was in this thing called Pain Track. There were 100 patients at this center, and 20 of us went to Pain Track, and the other 80 in the afternoon went to relapse school. And I never got a chance to relapse school, so I asked my counselor, well, what's up with that? And she said, this is what she said to me: there's an 80% relapse rate. Yeah, and that's in the first year, right? And I looked at her and I thought, I'm doomed. That was the first thing in my mind. And the second thing was, what's wrong with this model that we're using for recovery? So I vowed in that moment that if I survived the treatment, getting clean, and if I made it, because there was a question there, I lost my heart, they lost my heartbeat there in treatment for a moment. So there was a little question about my wellness, and I vowed in that moment that if I got through all that, then I would dedicate my life to moving the needle on that relapse rate. And because the pain track, the pain management program was so successful, he had a 94% success rate. And every one of us in that, I had 20 people with me at that time. It was a 3-year, that program was there over 3 years. He had a 94% success rate. The doctors all called us hickory nut cases that they couldn't crack, but Dr. Peter could, and his team did. So, he said to me a couple things when I left. He said, you're not just a recovering addict, you're a recovering chronic pain patient. Make sure you take care of both of them. And this is what I discovered. I discovered that everyone that I know that has, this is my discovery. I'm not saying everybody in the world, I'm just saying in my experience, everyone that I know that's an addict was a chronic pain patient first. And every chronic pain patient that I know had a childhood adversity that wasn't cleared, that wasn't resolved. So we have this dynamic going on. And doctors don't know what to do with this. The traditional model was to treat it with opiates and benzodiazepines, but you're not supposed to take benzos for more than 2 weeks and then sporadically. So this 31-year thing this is an experiment. This is not good science, Anyway, so the point is that I learned ways to heal my body without the medication and not just survive, but thrive. And I wanted to write about it. So I did.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. You already touched upon so much already that, I think like in the 12-step community, in the healing world, some of the people know some of this, but sometimes it isn't until we start our healing that we, yes, are faced with some harsh reality of the impact of whether it is childhood trauma or, life history, but also in preparation about, how hard the journey can be. Like you said, 80%, relapse. But yet here is someone, that supported you and found a way to, who had 94% success rate. So, that's a huge difference. So it's so important that we, continue to explore the many ways that we are learning that, even though it may look like a relapse, it's actually the healing journey. It isn't a straight shot. It isn't linear. It's sometimes 2 steps forwards, 3 steps back, right?
And I'd like to also, just so everybody's clear, because people get confused, define what pain is. The body can't distinguish between physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, any kind of pain. It's all the same to the body. The brain reads it all the same signal, it hurts. Chronic pain is any of those pains that's felt for 15 days out of 30 for 3 months or more. 25%, the National Institutes of Health estimates that 25% of all North America has chronic pain across socioeconomic measurements, including children. And the World Health Organization estimates that 1/5 of the whole human population has chronic pain. So we've got a problem.
That's huge. Those are really high numbers.
Yeah. And just as an example, anybody that's experienced grief has experienced chronic pain. Now, so I say people are either chronic pain patients, or they're suffering from chronic pain, or they're in recovery from it. And my book speaks to both of them. The other thing that I thought was really important, I've sat in front of thousands of chronic pain patients over the years. I've met so many in hospital and doctor's offices and everything. And this is the way we are. We either are 100% complaining or we're 100% silent. And there's so this is this big mystery to doctors, therapists, nurses, about what's really going on inside the chronic pain, the conversation that's really going on inside, right? Mm-hmm. So this book that I wrote brings out that voice so that caretakers will know what's going on inside, and that chronic pain sufferers will hear someone else who was in chronic pain speak their truth, because that's a huge piece of it. Oh, I'm not alone in this. Somebody else gets me. It's you know how healing that can be.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why we're here. That's why we're right here right now having this conversation, because we recognize for so long we stay silent because we simply don't know. For many years, I didn't even know what words to use, who to turn to. Didn't want to complain, like you said. And so, yes, an important part of it is to recognize we're not alone on this journey. And the more we hear other people speak our inner struggle, you know, what sometimes registers as complaints, we can recognize it's actually a symptom. It's part of, you know, this, what the struggle is. So thank you so much for clarifying that. So obviously the book is meant for people that are struggling with pain. And I thank you so much for kind of giving us the definition of pain, because I think that's also something that we're confused about. We're not meant to be speaking or complaining, right? Or even sharing when we're having a hard day. But who is this book meant for? Because as I was reading it, I could see it might be helpful for everybody, but that was my point of view. So I'm curious, who is this book meant for?
Great question. This book is for chronic pain sufferers and those who care for them, doctors, nurses, family members, and friends. It offers proven techniques to clear pain and live a life free from suffering from someone who is a former chronic pain sufferer who searched the globe for answers and found them. And it's such a big problem, and it's so misunderstood, and doctors are not trained in medical school around chronic pain. So they know to give painkillers, and now they're not giving those. So now what are they supposed to do, right? So people are at odds, and I just saw a lot of ego in the doctors and misunderstanding of really where they came from. For instance, they told me, I had a doctor that told me, you will be in level 7 out of 10 pain for the rest of your life, 24/7, and you will be in a wheelchair when you're 40. And I was devastated by that. Now, I've learned to believe the diagnosis and not a prognosis. But here's the thing. He forgot his basic science. He made a pronouncement. He's not a fortune teller. Science works in probabilities, not in black and white. It's not the way it works. He was making a declarative statement. Where's there room for healing or hope there? He just closed the door and never asked, why is Elizabeth not healing? He just assumed I wouldn't. That is a powerful ego who's forgotten their training or missed the boat, or I don't know. I was very irresponsible, I thought, but it happens a lot. I hear this a lot. So that was another reason why I wrote the book. Now I had an edge being given that prognosis because I had training in science, and I got bowled over by that because I was very vulnerable at that moment. But I knew, a part of me knew something was up. I just knew, and it took me a while, but I figured out, wait a minute, he's operating in this limited space. We live in the universe, and science lives in what it can describe and observe and measure. But we heal here and everywhere. So I began to look outside of here in this scientific framework for my healing, which then goes to connection with higher power, healing power within. Somebody made a comment about my book. Oh, so her book is religious. She said just says surrender to a higher power. That's not actually what I'm saying. I'm saying recognize that the healing power that you have lives inside of you. Doctors can set a bone and stitch a wound, but they can't tell the body how to heal. They can help you create ideal circumstances where the body can heal more efficiently, but they can't tell you how to heal. Right?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for saying that. That was one of the reasons I love and appreciate you, and I appreciate your message. My own story for so many years, I was getting very frustrated because I had all these people telling me, all the labels that I could have chosen from as a trauma survivor, whether it was PTSD or anxiety, chronic anxiety or depression, or, it's like there was a plethora of labels to choose from. And I kind of resisted and rejected a little bit and was pushing. It's like, okay, if you can diagnose me, where are the people that are going to tell me how to heal me? Right. And that's kind of what I put out, and I'm a stand for in the world. And I think you are, proclaiming that here as well, is that, our bodies do the healing. Nobody else does the healing. But I encourage everybody, find a person to work with that believes that you can heal.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I love that. It's so important. So there's two things I want to speak about there. One is the responsibility for our healing, and the other one is our habits that we have around chronic pain and why they're there, right? Which goes back to trauma, right? So here's the thing. I looked at myself and I said, well, where is healing happening and who's in charge and what is this? And I made a decision. I decided that 20% of my healing was the responsibility of the entire medical community. All of them, alternative healers, Western people, Eastern people, all of it, Ayurvedic, all of it, 20%. 80% is between me and God. And I'm saying, like, I have to follow doctor's orders. I have to listen within to say, oh, that's actually not a good idea for me. What's good for me, right? And I have to remember to listen to my higher power connection, right? Which we lose that in chronic pain. So I just think we forget. I was raised every time, so that every time we got a bump or a bruise and cried out or got sick, the adults would rush in to the children and here's a pill and let's numb it, and let's you have to have this and you have to see the doctor. And so we're always looking away outside of ourselves for the solution to healing, and we never were taught it's right here. And we were never taught pain is part of healing. So the body's just trying to heal, and it does it by, it hurts for a while. So, yeah.
Yes, I really appreciate you saying that, because feeling pain is part of healing. Like they say, right? The only way out is through, really.
Mhm.
And it's part of being human. We can't avoid feeling, and it's actually, as you talk about so many times throughout the book, and you give so many helpful tools about how, instead of resisting or avoiding or denying the pain, we are actually creating even more pain for ourselves. So I just want to share with the people watching here that I was actually reading your book. And remember, I shared this with you, and I was probably halfway through your book and laid down to bed one night and could feel a little bit of tension in my mind or in my body. And I woke up, and what it felt like it was coming on was a really bad migraine. Do you remember I shared that with you?
Yeah.
And I actually woke up with the feeling like it was like a pressure coming in all around my head, but it was so fresh in my mind what I had read in your book, instead of, being all of a sudden, worrying about, is it going to get worse, right? What am I going to do to avoid this? What can I do to make it go away? I actually, slow down my breath, and I use self-compassion tools a lot. I actually placed my hand on my heart and just let my body feel the warmth from my hand, and just slowly calm down, instead of going into my, here we go, 2 days of migraine, right?
Mhm.
And I just, a little bit of breathing, noticed that I was just going to stay as relaxed as I could. And then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to drop into the pain. I'm just going to drop inside my head and ask, what is going on here? In my most kind, loving tone, right? My most gentle voice, just being curious, because I just wanted to be present for myself or whatever was going on inside there. So as I dropped in there, I immediately felt like something relaxed, like there was an opening, there was a space. And then I heard a rather angry voice. There was a lot of frustration going in there. I've been going through some changes in my personal life, and my inner protector in there was really upset, really angry, really worried. And it kind of went off on me a little bit. And I was a little taken aback by the intensity of the worry that was going on inside of me. And I was just like, well, no wonder this is painful. No wonder this feels really harsh. No wonder I'm feeling like I need to protect something. And so I just listened and continuing with my hand on my heart, just like as you had, like I said, recently in the book, demonstrate something similar in terms of just turning to it, just being witnessing to it. So, and just after a few minutes of doing that, actually the pain went away completely. And I just fell asleep, and I slept through the night.
You just, that's such a beautiful example of the use of the tool, right? Of exactly what your presence and curiosity and listening. And you've spoken directly to the mind, body, spirit situation. And this is the other mistake that I saw, at least in Western medicine. We separate, it's the body and the mind is over here and the spirit isn't even in the equation, and you can't separate. It's, science is finally catching up that you can't separate those three. And you just spoke so beautifully to that, because you attended to the body, the mind, and the spirit all in that one session. And your body your inner intelligence just went poof and healed it. Boom, right? It was great. And that's exactly what's going on there.
Yes, exactly. And I just wanted to thank you so much, because I think it was, because it is when we need those tools the most, right? That sometimes we forget them. I mean, I have all kinds of tools in my tool belt, right? This isn't my first time, not my first headache, right? But it was just because it was, just so beautifully reminded recently that I was able to call upon it. Half asleep, half awake, and pull into that practice, and it stayed with me. So it was a very powerful moment. So, but
That's beautiful.
I'm curious also for you. I mean, I know you also believe we're always learning, we're always evolving. So, what surprised you in terms of, as you were writing this book and you know, for other people perhaps. Like, what did you get out of it?
Out of writing the book? Well, I had to use the tools in the book to write the book. It was interesting. You know, part of my healing was around finding my voice, and because I had a lot of nobody wants to talk to you when I was a kid, and you know, I had my own stuff that I had to heal. And then when we and I moved through that. I mean, I just had to keep using the tools, and then when we got to the part where we actually you know, the editing was done, and it was time to set the print, and then it was like, this is it, Elizabeth. You know, it's now or never if you want to change it, and I had to make that we're done kind of thing, and my poor body. it was like, oh, you know, and I made the decision, but I had to stop and I had to do. I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher. It's very powerful for moving energy, and I had to sit and do a little. I did a little yoga and some chanting and meditation just to kind of move that energy, because my poor body was. But here was the thing that I thought was so interesting. You know, Dr. Peter, who took me through, who took me through the the pain track. He wrote a book called Conquer Chronic Pain: An Innovative Mind-Body Approach, and this is a follow-up to his book. This is really the patient manual to his book. And the user manual. He has exercises in the back of his book, but this is just kind of a follow-up. He asked a really, really brave question in front of a whole room full of chronic pain patients. This is what he said. What are you doing to contribute to your pain? And when I heard that question, I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not doing anything. It's doing it to me. And I was like, I had this, you see the attitude? Like, I'm not doing anything, right? Yeah. And it's very defensive. And because I really felt at that point, my viewpoint was I'm a victim of this thing. And in some ways we are. And as he started working with us and pointing kind of things out, I realized, wow, I've actually been, my own behaviors have been contributing to my pain. And that was okay. I was grateful to learn that. But then I started learning more. And I was studying Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory. And I realized he studied the vagus nerve and safety. It's our threat assessment system, really. And it helps us communicate with other people. It's all about safety. And I was like, wow, all these behaviors that I had around coping with my pain, they were based in behaviors I had when I was dealing with trauma and trying to survive. They kept me safe. They just don't work anymore. So they were awesome getting me through the trauma, but I took them on, and they're not things that are good, because the poor vagus nerve gets dysregulated, and you need to bring from trauma, and you need to bring healing modalities that regulate it back into normal. And nobody ever taught me that until I got into Pain Track. And then I got into, afterwards, I got into Kundalini yoga, which does all kinds of regulation. And I'm like, okay, so everybody that's got a chronic pain problem, yes, they're contributing to their pain, but they have a good reason, because their body's just trying to keep them safe. And it's just confused. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I tell, you know, my clients and anybody who will listen, right, is that we can't beat ourselves up for what our body does, because it literally is everything that it does is in service of survival. It's always optimizing to keep you safe. It's always optimizing to do the best it can with the resources that it has. And that's what, you know, just like I think you do, it's like so much of the healing journey is about becoming educated. Like you said, understanding the vagus nerve, understanding your nervous system, understanding how your body functions. I mean, can you imagine if we spent some time on that in school,
I know.
educating children as they grow up, educating them about the changes in their body so they will understand and can maximize, because as you also mentioned previously, is that our body is the healer. But for us to get out of the way, understand how we may be contributing, we sometimes pick up where the people hurting us left off, right?
Oh, absolutely.
With those habits and those thinking and those, those beliefs. So it seems, right, it's a lot of moving parts, but I think the more, the deeper you go into it, it seems to get simplified as well. I mean, the steps are simple, but it's in doing them, right? That's the
right.
hardest part.
Another piece that was so important to me was the ancestor clearing part of it. And you spoke to the habits that we get. And so imagine this, like every cell in our body has DNA that has been coded through generations and generations and generations and generations of success stories. And we have that locked into our genetic code. We have the environment and how we interact with the environment that's kind of softer wiring. It's like the DNA is the hard wiring, and the epigenetic part is the softer wiring. The switches can be turned on and off by the environment. Ancestor clearing was a really a big piece for me for the chronic pain, and I do it now as a practitioner because it's so important. Because we come into this life with the gifts and the burdens of our ancestors in that DNA. So we come in with resilience and ability to survive cold weather or certain diseases and that kinds of things. And we come in with the unresolved traumas from war and conflict and, abandonment and, X, Y, lots and lots of other things. So that was another really important piece, to bring in ancestral clearing to try and clear those burdens, as well as bringing in Kundalini yoga and other practice, EFT tapping, other things to help regulate the vagus nerve. Ancestral clearing was so I often will join Ancestor with Kundalini yoga or EFT tapping. I join them together, and I bring all of that to recovery coaching. I got my certification in recovery coaching now, so it's I'm able to help people in recovery with these tools too. It's pretty cool.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That makes a lot of sense, right? Because we weren't just plopped in here, right? We carry with us our ancestry and our lineage, and I love that you mentioned, yes, some of the challenging aspects, but also definitely some of the strengths. That
I give you an example. How many people listening here, for example, have mothers that worry, have grandmothers that worry, right? It's a thing. They came in with that. We have it, but we don't have to carry it. We can release that behavior pattern, because worry is all about the future. We've missed the present moment. The past is over. The future hasn't happened. We're right here in this present moment, which we actually have some control over what's happening here. But we have no control over the future. So we're doing something that's counterproductive to our, I'm all for planning in the future, but not the worry part. That's just feeding that negativity.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I can identify with that. I've come a long way, so I'm going to give myself some pat on the back here. But that chronic worrying, and especially when I understood exactly what you said, when I recognized I'm really worrying or putting so much energy into something I really have no control over, you know, it's much better if I focus on today and take really good care of myself today, so I'm equipped to handle tomorrow when I show up, and that shows up tomorrow, right? So that helped to rein in some of that, the spinning of the mind sometimes. So thank you for sharing that. So I want to ask you here as we maybe wrap this up. I know you and I could sit here all day and just, you know, kick some ideas and thoughts back and forth, but I'm hoping that we planted enough seeds for people to check out your book and come visit your website. And I will post both underneath this video on the Facebook page. But what is something you want anybody that is dealing with chronic pain to hear today? What do you want them to know?
Oh, I would like them to know that this mantra, this is your mantra, this is an assignment. I am my greatest healer. I am my greatest healer.
Yes, thank you. Say that again. There was a little breakup in the audio when you said that.
I am my greatest healer. That's the mantra I assign. I am my greatest healer. And, you know, you don't have to suffer. You can heal from chronic pain. And it's a lot of people hear from their doctors, you'll have to have this the rest of your life. Yeah, you can heal from chronic pain. It's doable. You know, you healed from it. I healed from it. You know, I think Dr. Peter had thousands of patients that healed from it. So, you know, this is doable.
Yes, 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 yes. So thank you so much. And where can people find you if they're curious to learn more about your work?
Very good. I'm at, my website is Elizabeth, you have to put in a hyphen, Kipp, KIPP.com. It's a Elizabeth hyphen KIPP like Peter Pan.com. The ElizabethKipp.com is taken by photographer. So I'm Elizabeth-Kipp.com.
Beautiful. And we'll make it easier for people too. We'll put that information up with the video so they can have it right there and then. So any last thoughts before we wrap up? I just so appreciate you, your down-to-earth conversation, being able to relay this message in a way that it's easily understandable and relatable. And I took so much. I was highlighting so much from your book.
Thank you. I would like to encourage everyone that when they're healing is a process and it happens in its time. The body, mind, spirit, they heal in its time, and our ego, I want it now, or I wanted it, why isn't it happening faster? Like that's not helping, right? So patience is another important component, and self-compassion. I love you bringing self-compassion in the beginning. That's so important. Yeah. So
yes, yes.
Love yourself through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also would just want to encourage people to check you out, even on Facebook. I love following you. You're such a huge advocate for gratitude. I even posted a little quote from your book yesterday about the impact of gratitude. Sometimes when we start some of these practices, it feels meaningless. Like, why am I doing this? I'm just randomly listing some things that I'm grateful for. But I think it's powerful once we understand, actually, no, you're having an impact on your biology, not just your thinking, but on your biology as you continue. And you are such a beautiful writer, Elizabeth.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So,
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's a big compliment from you, because your writing is amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, I think when we write from the heart,
that's right.
It just pours out, and thank goodness I've come a long ways on the worry. You know, I don't worry about it being perfect anymore. I just worry, you know, I don't even worry. I just let it flow, and
beautiful
typos and all. So
that's right. Words and all, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So thank you again from the bottom of my heart. So we will post the recording so anybody can watch the replay here. But again, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate the work, your path, your journey. And every time I read something from you, I learned something new, and I know this book is going to help a lot of people. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And I feel the same way about you. I read your post and it just warms my heart. And I just want you to know that's how I feel when I read your stuff. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Well, with that, we're going to check and log off here. So we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.